And lastly, to not get kicked off the only planet I know where I can live. And sleep. A person smokes a cigarette, a person smokes a cigarette, a person smokes a cigarette, they push a button, 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 they push a button. They stare at a cigarette, they stare at a cigarette, they stare at the button, they push the button, they do one of the most toxic choices any human has ever made, probably anywhere in outer space. However, a human will push a button involving light until they're so depressed within their mental health system that they call psychiatry, and the button they push and the button they see and the button they observe. Not to begin the whole part of a problem involving other humans who work to have a button to push, to make money working with a button they push, a button they look at, a button they observe, a button they see, a button they look at, a button they push. Spending their entire life, almost all humans in civilizations, involving money, pushing a button, looking at a button, pushing a button, looking at a button, pushing a button. Working, push a button, working, looking at a button, working, pushing a button to make money, to have a button to push, to have money to stare at light. Humans used to stare at light in the 90s and the 80s, and the parents would say, like, why didn't you already explain what you're saying? You're just saying too much. In other words, their head's gonna explode. Unless I push a button, unless I push a button, unless I push a button, and I stare at a button, I stare at a button, I stare at a button, and I push a button. However, unfortunately, you get fat and overweight and you can't stand up anymore. Eating and going, oh my gosh. Those calories they said and those candies they sold? Okay. Oh my gosh. And then people die. Probably billions have died with cigarettes, and nobody ever talks about pushing a button, staring at a button, not even to start a conversation about those people who are making the button, living in these mansions, on these boats, in these bunkers, in these $100,000 apartments, pushing a button and staring at a button. Sex trafficked women, huge bottles of champagne, eating Grubhub. They found where they pushed their button, where they talked to their object about pushing a button, so they didn't have to push the button. All they had to do was see there was a button needed to be pushed.